What's up, and welcome to another episode of the Grindline Podcast. Listening to episode 294. I'm your host, Greg. I'm here tonight with Tyler. Tyler, we are 3 days away now? 3 days away from opening night. Hockey is in the air. So is Tigers playoffs. So if you're heading down to the arena this Thursday, leave real early because it's going to be an absolute madhouse down there. But we do have a show tonight. There were some waivers, there were some signings, there's a roster set. Tyler, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Looking forward to buttoning up everything that I have to do at work. I'm leaving an hour early tomorrow. Um, Going to get in a little bit of NHL hockey to watch. As you guys know, I'm from the Boston area, so getting together with a couple of my friends to watch the Bruins first game. And it's funny that the Panthers will be raising their Stanley Cup banner in front of the Boston Bruins, who they've beaten twice in the
It's
last 2 years.
hilarious.
They're so mad. It's so funny, but they finally got Swayman signed, so they're a little happier. But I'm doing good. Excited to get out to Michigan and get to see the home opener. Get to drink some beers with some Wings fans. Drink some beers with some Tigers fans. Um, Celebrate the 2023 national championship that Michigan still won. And we will still continue to lament that as this season is going down the drain very quickly for the 2024 Michigan Wolverines. But I'm doing good. Looking forward to getting into some of this stuff here, though.
Yeah, it is a lot. Another person that's happy that Swayman signed is both of my fantasy teams. I have Swayman as my goalie on both of my fantasy teams. So it came down to the wire, but I picked him up on a kind of late pick in one of my drafts because he wasn't signed yet. So hopefully got a steal there. But yeah, like you said, we have a lot to talk about tonight. So we are going to first look at kind of the first surprise that came this week. And the first surprise that I think kind of hit everyone was Justin Holl was waived. That was one we were kind of waiting for. Justin Holl being waived the Red Wings if he is sent to Grand Rapids, and it looks like he will be. He was on a set of waivers with Joe Snively, Sheldon Dries, William Lagesson, and Brogan Rafferty were sent along with Justin Holl were waived. And was tweeted today, Justin Holl will be going to the Grand Rapids Griffins. One of the big things that does for the Red Wings is that frees up $1.15 million of cap space. That's your cap recapture. That is the waiver player cap exemption plus the league minimum salary. So you add those two things together, and that's what you get. It's 1.15 million. So that's good for the Wings. If they want to make another move to trade something away and take back a player of greater value, they have the room to do that. But this is kind of a move we've been waiting for a while. Justin Holl was benched most of the season last season. Didn't look like really anything in preseason. It was kind of one of the moves that we anticipated happening.
I just don't understand the signing in the first place. And I know we all questioned it. And I know
It was a signing on hope, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's not that much of a it's not like it doesn't hamstring you for years or anything like that. But it's still just a head scratching move. Like, why did you have to do that? I think, and I don't want to speak for Steve Yzerman. I'm not smarter than Steve Yzerman. You're not smarter than Steve Yzerman, and nobody that's commenting below for the roster is smarter than Steve Yzerman because Steve Yzerman knows what he's doing. He built the Stanley Cup winner in Tampa Bay. You know all the stuff there, but the thing that kind of aggravates me, it's like, why did you have to sign him? Was it the pressure of trying to bring veterans in to augment the youth that you already had? Or was it just like, okay, we need to get somebody in here to eat some minutes? And he wasn't even able to do that. So I just don't understand it in the first place. I'm more than okay with them waiving him. I would imagine nobody's picked him up yet, right?
No, he cleared waivers today.
Okay, so I believe everyone cleared waivers except for that goalie that went from Boston to Vancouver, Vancouver to Boston and then back to Vancouver. So I don't know. I just think that I mean it's kind of a nothing burger, honestly. It probably makes the team a lot better because then we don't want to talk about it just yet, but you have a young player actually make the team out of camp. So that's interesting. And on the back end too, and we're not talking about Simon Edvinsson.
Yeah, so that's one of the ones that actually did make it was Albert Johansson, and he kind of
Mm-hmm.
had to. Albert Johansson had to make the roster or risk being lost to waivers. As it stands right now, it looks like he will be a 7th D on a team, will start as a 7D. And I mean, okay, but I think at some point he'll have to work his way in. And I think what they might do is they might flip flop him at points with Oli Mata and have him play on the bottom pair with Gustafsson, which I think would be a good pair. Johansson is a more defensively sound guy. He's really good at puck retrieval. He's really good at zone exit and getting the puck out. And Gustafsson is more of a offensive defenseman. He's able to do good. He's got good breakout passes. He's able to set guys up, and he's quarterbacked to power play before. Now I think Sider will probably quarterback power play 1, but if you've got Gustafsson on power play 2, that's kind of where his bread and butter is at. But like Mata did last season, it'll probably swap time with Johansson. But that's an interesting ad. I like it. And I think Johansson should steadily work his way up that lineup and become an everyday NHL player, because looking at him in preseason, it looks like he does have the tools to do it.
Yeah, I mean, and he was picked what, in the second round in 2019, so you finally start to see some of your youth. Well, that was Eisenman's first draft too, right?
2019 would have been Iserman's first draft. Yes.
Yeah, so Johansson, a good player, stout defensively, and hopefully, that's something that the Wings have been looking for a long period of time. Obviously, Sider was kind of a stud and kind of a white whale in himself. He's rare. Edvinsson could potentially be rare as well. But now you start to see the Johanssons, the Sandin Pelikas at some point. These defensemen start to work their way to the NHL. And this is kind of where you start to see the fruits of the labor of the early drafting that Steve Yzerman has made. Obviously you don't see a Carter Mazer on the line on the opening night roster, but those things can change. And the injuries do happen. Um, just because someone didn't make the opening night roster on, October 7th doesn't mean that they can't be called up on October 15th or 18th or whatever. There could be a change after the first game. We've seen it before. So I think people that are complaining, it's a little bit knee jerkish in my opinion. But I'm happy that Johansson made the roster. He kind of had to, but not even just that, but it's good to see some of that start to come into fruition, because other than that, I mean, you lost a Jake Wallman in the offseason, and you lost the Shane Gostisbehere in the offseason. I know Johansson may not bring what Gostisbehere brought offensively, but you know what? He's a hell of a lot better defensively than Gostisbehere was, and I'll take that trade off 9 times out of 10.
Yeah, we made up a little bit for the offense that was lost in Ghost with someone like Tarasenko. Even Gustafsson, like I said, he's no slouch offensively. He's not going to hit that 40 plus points probably that Ghost hit, but he'll make up some. I mean, if he gets 25, 30 points, that's good. If you look at Albert Johansson, he's also not an offensive slouch, really. I mean, 21 points in 66 games in Grand Rapids last season. So he gets his fair share of assists. It's only 6 goals, 15 assists. But again, he was drafted, like you said, round 2, number 60 overall. He's listed at 6 feet tall, 168 pounds. So he's not huge, but he does throw his weight around. He's not afraid to hit people. He's not afraid to bang into the boards. And I'm pretty excited for Albert Johansson, because that is one of your rookies that has made the team. The notable omission, however, was that Marco Kasper was waived. And then there was a bunch of speculation that's like, maybe it's just a paper move and maybe he's not going to go to Grand Rapids. And maybe they're just trying to make a trade, or they're trying to sign Austin Watson before they bring Marco Kasper over to Detroit. And it was shown today that Marco Kasper will be starting in Grand Rapids. And I think that is the one that is pretty disappointing, because he had a fantastic preseason. He was consistently one of, if not the best player on the ice. And that's kind of objective, because he's the veterans are just trying not to get hurt. That's their main job, is don't get hurt before the regular season, while the AHL players are like, they're trying to bust their ass to make the team. And I think Marco Kasper more than proved that he is ready for the NHL with how he performed in preseason. He was scoring goals, he was blocking pucks, he was knocking guys down, he was making smart plays. and he just looked really confident and really solid out there. And then he gets cut. And of course, everyone was in an uproar, and I get it. And I'm not going to get as angry as everyone else. But this is a move that, especially with the move that happened that we'll talk about in a minute, that I am not confident in. I think that you could have not made this other move and brought Kasper in, and you could have even slotted him in the second line center, and you could have moved JT Comfort down to the third line. You could have moved Andrew Kopp to a wing or moved Andrew Kopp down to the fourth line. And I think it would have made the team better than the way the roster stands right now. It's one that I looked at it and I go, damn, this kid did everything he could have possibly done to make this roster. And they still sent him to Grand Rapids. And that has to be disheartening for him.
Yeah, I just don't understand why this organization continues to do this. I'm not saying that it's the wrong play long term or anything like that, but when a kid dominates in camp and has probably the best camp out of every player, not a regular starter, meaning the Larkins, the DeBrincats, the
Yep.
Raymonds, those players, the Canes, um, like I don't understand. Like, what does Austin Watson bring that Marco Casper can't? Like, I just like, do we need a tough guy that badly? Like, I just don't. I don't understand it. I know you need tough players in the league. It's still important to have someone that will stand up for a teammate,
But
especially
that's
when you have
part
a
of
lot of young
Casper's
players.
game.
Yeah, I don't know. It's incredibly frustrating, especially when it's another one of your first round picks that should be on the roster. Frankly, I mean this team is not in a situation where they should be telling young players, well, you know, you're you're good enough to be on the roster, but you know we're gonna let you be the first line center in Grand Rapids. Like, come on, man. I don't get this. This has to do with hockey. Maybe it's not the Wings, but it's hockey in general. I feel like they're so scared to put some of these young players in tough situations and ruin their confidence. And to a point, I get it. But when the kid has success at the AHL or at the in the preseason, and he's had success everywhere else he's been. He even had success when he was here for the one game against Toronto when he broke his kneecap or whatever it was. I just don't understand how you can send the kid to Grand Rapids.
Like you said, he had a great preseason. He was a standout with Nate Danielson and Carter Mazer. I think those were the three guys in preseason that performed at a high level, showed they're knocking on the door, they're real close. But like you said, he brings that toughness. Austin Watson, who signed today, and we'll talk about it in a minute, but he's here for hands. That's what he's here for. Like he showed some. I said at one point, I'm like, oh man, I would totally just waive Joe Valeno and bring in Austin Watson because Austin Watson brings the physicality, but he also showed flashes of offense. And Austin Watson is a former first round pick. I think number 19, somewhere around there, and
Oh,
he's had to basically find his way in the NHL by being a goon. And I get it for points where you had Dylan Larkin laid flat out on the ice last season and was a really scary moment. And people continuously target Dylan Larkin. And there are people that target people like Lucas Raymond. And there have been people try to go after Mo, which is not advisable by any means, but they
yeah, I wouldn't
do.
be doing that
No, I wouldn't do that at all. But
because I'll tell you what, there's another defenseman that we haven't talked about yet who is also 6 foot something,
yeah,
more than
and
six
put a
foot
player
five,
down like a child the other day.
that has a mean streak in him that we did not know about, and that is Simon Edvinsson that we're talking about now. I'm telling you right now, this kid has a little bit more and bite than people think about it.
Oh yeah, he did the whole hold someone's head while they flail their arms move and then just put him to sleep on the ice nice and gentle, which was hilarious.
It's nice to see, and again, I don't like to compare Simon Edvinsson to a another Swedish defenseman who wears number 77 in blue and white. But it's not me that's making the comparison. I've seen it multiple places. I've seen it. Chicklets was talking about it. I think it was Keith Yandel that said it on Spit and Chicklets. And he's a former defenseman in the National Hockey League. And if he sees it, then I think that a lot of people should start to make somewhat of that comparison. Now, temper your expectations a little bit, but I'll tell you what, from what I've seen in Simon Edvinsson, he's gotten better. And that's only positive for the Wings. going forward.
There may be a hint of Chris Pronger in Simon Edvinson's game,
I hope
but
so.
we'll
You know
see.
what? That because Victor Hedman has a little bit of mean streak to him, but not to the level that Chris Pronger did. I mean, if you're telling me that he's a hybrid between Victor Hedman and Chris Pronger, sign me up tomorrow. Because that would mean that he might be better than Mo Sider going forward.
Yeah, I think they're going to be two really good players, but on different levels. But back to Marco Kasper. Marco Kasper also has a mean streak. And Marco Kasper, as smart as he is, and as good as he is, and as good as his hands are and his playmaking and his scoring, he will hit people. He is not afraid to take punches. He's not afraid to throw punches. He's a guy that can defend other players. Now, you say, do you want guys like that defending your other players? Maybe not. Like, maybe you don't. Maybe you want to say, yeah, stick up for him when you have, like, when the time calls for it. But in this game, we know that there's a situation, so we're going to put in Austin Watson. So, okay, whatever. But I don't think that should have stopped. Like, I would have waived Veleno and played Kasper. And I think if you waived Veleno today and put Marco Kasper in on the second or third line, your team is better today than it was yesterday, than it was last season. I think your team is worse with Marco Kasper in Grand Rapids, regardless of if he's getting first line center minutes, because if he was in Detroit, you know who'd be getting those first line center minutes? Nate Danielson, who's the next guy up. You got to keep that rolling. And I'm not saying that Marco Kasper's not going to play in Detroit this season. In fact, I think Marco Kasper plays a really good chunk of games, 50 plus games probably this season in Detroit. But I think it could have been done from game one, and it would have given your team a leg up right from the beginning. And it's, to me, disappointing.
You know what pisses me off too? It feels like we're talking about this every October when an opening night roster comes, and you look at, I believe last year was Simon Edvinsson. I don't remember who it was the year before. Maybe it was Bergeron, but like Simon Edvinsson was good enough to make the team last year, and for whatever reason, you had to bring in Jeff Petrie and you had to bring in Justin Holl, and you had to bring in these guys, Goss Despair, which I know you needed to bring in at least one of those guys, but I don't understand what this organization does with young guys. This is not 2007. This is not where you could afford to have a, just for example, a Pavel Datsyuk or Henrik Zetterberg in the AHL or Yuri Hudler in the AHL, because you have, Zetterberg and these phenomenal superstar players at the NHL level. They don't have that roster. So I don't know why they continue to treat it that way. Maybe that's just an old school look at it, but it's kind of frustrating. I'm not going to lie to you. It is kind of frustrating. It feels like we're talking about this every single October, right as the opening night roster.
Yep, I agree. But what we're going to do real quick is we're going to take a quick break for commercial. We're going to have a couple messages from our sponsors. Then we will be back to talk about the Austin Watson signing, the remaining salary cap, and the opening night roster versus the Pittsburgh Penguins. So give us just a couple minutes. We'll be right back after a few messages. The quest for the Stanley Cup starts now. The puck's dropping on the 2024-25 season. Get in on all the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. It's super easy for first-timers to get started. Try betting on something simple like picking a team to win. Go to DraftKings Sportsbook app, select your team, and place your first bet. Right now, the Red Wings are a long shot to make the Stanley Cup, but you can put a bet in anyways, and if they turn things around, you might make a bit of cash. And if you are new to DraftKings, listen up. New customers bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ice.
This episode of the Grindline podcast is brought to you by BetterHelp. Is there a skill you've been meaning to learn? Something you see someone else doing, you're saying, man, I think I'd be really good at that, or that would be a ton of fun. Kids are always learning and growing, but as adults, sometimes we lose that curiosity. Therapy can help you reconnect with your sense of wonder because your back to school era can come at any age. Therapy has a stigma of just being for people that are experiencing trauma in their lives, but it can be for anyone and can help with things like coping skills and setting healthy boundaries to make you a better person. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist. You don't like the one you're matched with? You can switch at any time for no additional charge. Rediscover your curiosity with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/THPN today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/THPN. Hockey is in the air, and the thrill of the game is bringing Red Wings fans from all over the country back to Little Caesars Arena starting this Thursday for Game 1 against the Pittsburgh Penguins. So when you're looking to get tickets, your number one choice should be Game Time. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. You can see players like Connor Bedard or Connor McDavid come play the Detroit Red Wings, and you get the seat views before you buy, so you can see what it looks like from where you will be sitting. Curated deals make it easier to find the best price on great seats, and with the lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection, job loss protection, and more, Game Time should be your number one destination for your tickets. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code THPN for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code THPN for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. And we're back. And the other big news of the kind of week, I guess, since it's only Monday, but Austin Watson has signed. So Austin Watson joined on a PTO, played all through training camp, all through preseason, earned himself a contract, a 1-year, two-way, $775,000 at the NHL level, $200,000 at the AHL level. And like I said, he was a former first-round pick by the Preds, pick number 18 in 2010. Has about 6 teeth in his mouth, which is pretty cool. It's funny to watch him. It's funny to watch him smile when he's playing because he literally has like no top teeth. He is 32 years old. He is a right wing, 6'4", 205 pounds. Like I said, he's brought in for hands. What he's brought in for. He was, though, however, waived today, and it looks like he will be sent to Grand Rapids. So Newsy made it sound like they'll start the year with 22 on the roster, and we'll talk about the full roster in just a minute. But I mean, sure, I would say that's a fine if you're just going to bring him in as an extra forward. But again, it just displaces another guy. So what are your thoughts on the Austin Watson signing?
I mean, I just don't understand why you like if you're going to sign him, keep him. Why did you need to waive him and send him down to GR? I don't get the point of that. I mean, I guess for depth, and they probably said, well, we'll sign him, we'll keep him, and we'll put him on waivers. And if he gets claimed, he gets claimed. If he doesn't get claimed, then at least it's a depth piece, kind of like Austin Zarnik last year. Kind of a similar
or Matt
move
Luff
to that.
when Matt Luff was healthy.
Yeah, Matt Luff, but I think more so like a Zarnik kind of thing where like he could probably be an NHL player. He could also be an AHL player. So like a little bit of that. So I mean, I don't really have much to say about it other than why wouldn't you just keep Kasper on the roster if you were going to waive Watson and then you keep 3 goalies? I don't understand where it's all at right now.
Yeah, I mean, Austin Watson, like I said, though, he's going to be here to beat people up. Last season in Tampa, he had 33 games played with 2 goals and 2 assists for 4 points. The season before that in Ottawa had 75 games played with 9 goals, 2 assists for 11 points. So he has a smidge, what I would call a smidge of offense in his game. But he also had 123 penalty minutes in Ottawa in those 75 games, which is going to be a huge problem in Detroit if he plays. I said you can get guys that like can fight, like Kasper. He's not afraid to hit and fight, but he is not going to take stupid penalties doing it. Austin Watson in the last preseason game took like 25 minutes of penalties in one go. He got a fighter, he got an instigator, he got I think it was a cross-checking penalty. He got so it was a fighting, an instigator, a fighting, a 10-minute misconduct, and a game misconduct all in one go. And that's it was sticking up for someone, but like at what point is that just going to ruin a game for you? Is that going to put you on what it was against Ottawa? It was like a 7-minute penalty kill that they had. At what point is that going to bite you in the ass? So you bring him in to throw down with someone. He's going to throw down with someone. He's going to get you a penalty and you're going to get scored on.
Yeah, we don't need that. I mean, especially in a team that already struggles to defend and struggles to keep pucks out of their net, as they did last year. I mean, I just don't understand. I guess it's to protect, the Larkins, the Brinkets, the Canes, the Raymonds, even the Siders to an extent. Even though he really doesn't need protection, he can throw down on his own. But I don't really see the upside in signing him. I mean, I guess for depth purposes, but then why did you need to send Kasper to GR? I would love to hear Steve Eisenman's explanation, to be honest.
Hasn't it been proven time and time again that guys on other teams just aren't really afraid if you have an enforcer or not? They don't care. I mean, look what happened in that Montreal preseason game. They've got Arbor Jekai, who's like one of the known enforcers in the league. It's what he's there for, fighting people. They took out David Reinbacher. They took out Patrick Laine. They did not care that Arbor Jekai was on the bench. They don't care that Ryan Reeves is on the bench in Toronto. They don't care. They're going to hit people whether there's a goon on your team or not. It doesn't matter. And that's why I believe the role of the enforcer is dead unless that player can also pitch in offensively or is just phenomenal defensively. If they can throw down and then put up 20 points in a season or 25 points in a season, great. That's fine. Throw them on your fourth line. They'll chip in a little bit of offense and they'll hit people. If they are great on the penalty kill and they don't let go, they're like on ice save percentage is phenomenal. They don't let goals in and they fight, fantastic. But if all they do is fight and take penalties, again, it's another plug on your team that's going to cost you more often than it's going to help.
Yep, I agree. I think you do still need someone that isn't afraid to stand up for somebody if needed. But I don't think you need someone that literally will hurt you more than helps you. I don't see the value in that whatsoever.
So, and
So
we got guys like
I don't
Christian
know.
Fisher. We've got guys like Michael Rasmussen. We've got guys like
Especially
it was
Rasmussen.
Tarasenko's not afraid to hit people. Like we've got guys right now that can do that. I just don't think you need a guy whose sole purpose is that.
You think this team as constructed right now is tougher than they were last year?
I think it comes a little bit with being a team together with development. I mean, tougher to me is
I mean, harder to
subjective.
play against. I should say, not tougher, because I know people don't
You mean
like to
more
say tougher.
defensively sound?
You think of the Florida Panthers, you think of the Tampa Bay Lightning previously, you think of the Stanley Cup champs. They've all had something. I mean, obviously they have some high end skill and some good goaltending, but next to that, they still have like a mean streak to them. You think about the St. Louis Blues in 2019. I know we're going back a little bit here. You think of those Tampa Bay Lightning teams, obviously the Florida Panthers last year. You need to have some toughness. You can't be pushed around, especially when the playoffs come around. Because when the playoffs come around, they let a lot of things go. And not only that, but the level of competition goes up. There's more finishing of check. No, I don't need to tell you what playoff hockey is like, but you need to have some element of toughness, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I think they are. I think with a guy like Simon Edvinsson, like we talked about, who can be mean, Mo can be mean. You got Christian Fisher, like I said, who can be mean. Michael Rasmussen, who can be mean. Tarasenko. I think they are harder to play against this season than they were last season, both defensively, but like you said, also in the, I guess what you would call an aggression standpoint. I think they will be a more aggressive team this season. Now,
Tyler
how
Mott,
much that bites them in the ass is yet to be seen. That could bite them in the ass, but even like Mott, I think
that's
Mott
what
makes them a little bit more. Yeah, Mott makes them a little bit more aggressive too. But we do have a lineup. So the Detroit Red Wings roster at forward, you have Vladimir Tarasenko, Tyler Mott, Andrew Kopp, Lucas Raymond, Austin Watson, who should be going to Grand Rapids as of tomorrow, Michael Rasmussen, Christian Fisher, JT Comper, Jonathan Berggren, Dylan Larkin, Patrick Kane, Joe Veleno, Alex Brinkett. On defense, you have Oli Mata, Ben Sherratt, Albert Johansson, Jeff Petrie, Moritz Seider, Eric Gustafsson, and Simon Edvinsson. In goal, you have Alex Lyon, Ville Husso, and Cam Talbot. And they will go into the season carrying 3 goalies. Looks like the Red Wings currently now have $573,194 in cap space remaining. And as far as your starting lineups go, it looks like you're going to have a top line of Alex DeBrincat, Dylan Larkin, and Lucas Raymond, followed by Vladimir Tarasenko, JT Compher, and Patrick Kane, Michael Rasmussen, Andrew Kopp, and Christian Fischer, and a 4th line of Tyler Mott, Joe Veleno, and Jonathan Berggren. Like I said, they will not more than likely carry an extra forward. On defense, you have a top pairing of Ben Sherratt and Mo Seider, a second pairing of Simon Edvinsson and Jeff Petrie, and a third pairing of Mata and Gustafsson, with Johansson as your extra who will rotate in. Like I said, I think it's harder to play against. I look at it and I say, okay, like that second line is going to be slow, but we knew that. They should be able to hopefully pop off offensively. The Rasmussen Kopp Fischer line was really good last season. Mott brings more stability with Veleno and hopefully brings more stability to make up for Berggren's defensive shortfallings. Do I think they're better than last season? Yes. Do I think they're a lot better than last season? No. As it looks right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to tell, right? Because it depends on what you get for growth. Another year of Patrick Kane, obviously, hopefully 100% healthy, knock on wood, obviously. But, another year of Lucas Raymond, another year of Dylan Larkin, and I don't need to go down the whole list, but you have guys that are played in some really important games down the stretch last year that were basically playoff games. Even Dylan Larkin said he can't stop watching the Lucas Raymond overtime winner against Montreal. They played in games that were de facto playoff games. They just didn't get themselves in because of what happened elsewhere, not because of what they did. So whatever, it is what it is. In terms of the team that they have right now, I don't know that it's 100% better. I don't know that it's even 50% better. But even if it's 25% better, it might be better, good enough to be in the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree. The only thing, like I said, I think you could have changed is I think you could have slotted someone like Kasper in the 2C position, and it just kind of moved everyone down a rung and been a better team at the end of the day because of it. Do I think it's a playoff team? That's hard to say because the other teams around them also did things. But if you look at Buffalo in those first 2 games look real rough against New Jersey. And Ottawa always has a slow start, and you can't make the playoffs in October, November, but you can sure miss the playoffs in October and November. So if they get off to a slow start again, their fan base could be hurting again. If you want to look at who we're going up against for game 1 in the Pittsburgh Penguins, their forwards are Rutger McGroarty, Michael Bunting, Drew O'Connor, Kevin Hayes, Jesse Puljujarvi, Cody Glass, Lars Eller, Valtteri Puustinen, Noel Acciari, Ricard Raquel, Evgeny Malkin, Anthony Bolivier, and Sidney Crosby. Their defense is, again, some of these guys I have no clue who they are. Jack St. Ivany, Ryan Shea, Matt Grzelcyk, Ryan Graves, Marcus Pettersson, Chris Letang, and Eric Carlson. So Jack St. Ivany is the only one I don't know who they are. And their goalies are Joel Blomqvist and Tristan Jarry. Those are your 2024-25 Penguins. And that is a team that we hope falls off. I mean, they kind of fell off last season, but we hope they really fall off this season because it's less competition. But Sidney Crosby has shown that he's basically invincible. Same thing with Eric Carlson. So we'll kind of see how Pittsburgh does. But that is your Pittsburgh lineup for game 1.
Malkin has fallen off a ton, though.
Yeah, he's gotten a lot. What I've noticed about Malkin is he's gotten a lot slower.
Yep, no doubt. I mean, as a hockey fan, as a hockey fan from a young age, I liked Evgeny Malkin as a hockey player growing up. I was tall forward and kind of looked up to Evgeny Malkin, but so it's just another sign of me getting older, I suppose. But the roster isn't great for the Penguins, but they've shown that they are still resilient. They have a lot of older players in Letang and Carlson on the back end, but then they get a Matt Grzelcyk from Boston. They get a Ryan Graves, who's played some big hockey games. Same with Marcus Pettersson as well. Jari's a pretty good goalie. So I mean, they have some good offensive skills, but in terms of defensively, I don't know how well they'll defend other than the Crosby line, because Sydney still, even at this age, is one of the better defensive centers in the NHL. So I don't know. I mean, like I said, that Penguins roster isn't as good as it's been in the past, but it certainly is a roster that, if everything goes well for them, they could be a playoff team. We hope that they fall off. But obviously, we'll see what happens with that Penguins team.
But we are going to hand them their first loss of the season, right? We're going to beat the Pittsburgh Penguins on Thursday. At least that Penguins team.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it comes down to how well this roster can gel together, early in the season. Obviously, last season was a pretty good showing on home ice to start the season. I think the year before they beat Montreal, but it was like 2-1, and it was a very boring game. So we're all going to be in attendance. So hopefully they can do a little bit more offensively than they have in the past. Do you remember what the score was last year?
Last year was the Tampa Bay Lightning, and we won 6-4 on October 14th.
Yeah, that was a good game. And the year before it was Montreal, I believe, against the Canadiens in Detroit. So, and that was, I believe, a 2 or 3-1 win. It was a boring game. They had chances to score, but they couldn't. Anyways, hopefully they can score some goals and light the crowd up a little bit. I think it's going to be a raucous environment down in downtown Detroit. You got the Tigers playing game 4 of the ALDS. You got the Wings playing at 7. Is it 7:30 p.m.? The Tigers game and the Wings game are going to be like an hour apart, which I did not know that.
Which is not great. So, like I said, get there
No,
early.
no, yeah, I thought that was an earlier start. I don't know what happened. Okay. Anyways, either way, hopefully it's a raucous environment down in downtown Detroit. You got the Tigers game, you got the Wings game. It should be a huge weekend of sports in general. You get that huge college football weekend this weekend too. So I'm looking forward to it, man. I really am looking forward to get back to Detroit for my first game of the season and the Wings home opener. It's a tradition like no other. Like Ryan texted me the other day, and I can't wait to see you guys.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. I think before we sign
And
off, the
you,
lesson.
Greg.
Yeah, right. The last thing we want to say, though, before we sign off, is that our thoughts go out to Jack Campbell, who is in the players assistance program as of the other day. Hopefully, he gets the help he needs to make it through whatever he's going through right now, and can come back during the season to help the Grand Rapids Griffins. But his health right now is the most important thing. So, thoughts out to Jack Campbell and his family as he goes through the players assistance program. But Tyler, I want to give you get your last thoughts before we sign off tonight.
I just want to comment on one thing about Jack Campbell. He had a tremendous career with the Leafs. He went to Edmonton to get some more money and have a better team in front of him, I think. And it just didn't work out for him there, and he never really got it back. And I think at the end of last season in Bakersfield started playing really good to the point where the Oilers even thought he might have been a shot in the playoffs if the goalies that they had weren't working out, if Skinner wasn't playing well or what have you. So hopefully everything's okay with him, or hopefully, he gets the help that he needs with whatever's going on. He's a Michigan guy. He's a tremendous person as opposed to a good hockey player. And hopefully everything goes well for him going forward and he can help the Griffins, or in a pinch, the Wings. One just quick thing. What do you make of them carrying 3 goalies?
I don't think they needed to, but I understand why they're doing it with Husso's injury history and Lyon getting overwhelmed quickly. So, like Eiserman said, in today's NHL, you'll probably see more teams carry 3 goalies more frequently because of goalie injuries and everything, and just being prepared. I think that it lets one goalie get pretty rusty as the season goes on, but I mean, it's neither here or there. I think they could have waived someone and picked up an extra forward.
Yeah, I agree. So, anyways, final thoughts are I can't wait to get back to Michigan, get to watch these wings. Looking forward to see what we get, from the first line. Looking forward to see what we get from everybody. It does seem like they haven't played really together as a full unit yet, and now we'll finally start to see that. Also, really interested to see if Johansson actually gets in the lineup for opening night. That's another thing, but probably a story for another day. I'm going to do a prediction. I say 5-2 Wings win on home ice on opening night in Detroit. And those are my final thoughts. You can follow me on Twitter at SealDog91.
Yeah, I'm gonna say if you're looking for gear for the season, go to Vintage Detroit. Is the only place you should get your trailers from and worked on. But we have an exclusive T-shirt deal, so you can go to the Keep It Local tab on Vintage Detroit's website and click on the Grindline podcast and see our merch there. Which, if you got any ideas, throw them at me. Stuff you want to see, but I'm gonna be making some more designs going into this season as well. You can follow me online at Bringing the Wing. You can follow the Grindline podcast online at Grindline Pod. My prediction is going to be 3-1 Wings on opening night. You can sub to us on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts, but also on YouTube. You can find us at Grindline Podcast, and you can turn on notifications, get notified every time an episode goes live. You can also join us on Patreon at patreon.com/the Grindline Podcast. There's a couple levels there. We will be answering Patreon questions as we go into this season, and we will also be adding a little bit of bonus content onto Patreon as well. 10-minute clips probably of extras from the episode. And if we overflow past our normal limit, we will post them to Patreon for our patrons. But that is going to do it for us tonight. So for Tyler, I am Greg. Let's get a win in that opening game, Wings, and you stay classy, Hockeytown.